The first time I watched a human die for an enemy who hated them, I realized everything the galaxy believed about humanity was wrong. The memory still burned behind my eyes as I stand in the Hall of Veterans, beneath banners woven from the skins of extinct worlds. The air smells of ionized metal and old blood. Around me, warriors from a dozen species sit in rigid silence, their armor polished, their metals glowing softly. They came to hear a hero speak. They did not expect a confession. My name is K.R.R. Thalen of the Virex Dominion. 3 wars ago, I was declared a living legend, an alien war hero. And tonight, I am about to tell them the truth about humans. None of them are prepared for it. I see their mandibles flex with pride when my name is announced. I see the respect in their multifaceted eyes. They believe I will speak of glorious battles, of enemy fleets shattered by Virex discipline and superior logic. They believe humans were a footnote, a reckless, emotional species we use as expendable shock troops. They are wrong, and that is where the story truly begins. It started on the ash world of Kepri 9, a planet so scarred by orbital bombardment that its oceans had boiled away centuries earlier. Our coalition forces had landed to crush a synthetic rebellion, machines that had once served an ancient empire and now sought to erase all organic life. We were losing. Our strategies were flawless. Our simulations predicted victory in 97.4% of scenarios. And yet, every day, our lines collapsed. The machines adapted faster than our logic could account for. Entire battalions vanished into metallic storms. That was when the humans arrived. They came in rust-streaked carriers, their hulls scarred, their insignia mismatched. No unified colors. No elegant formation. Just raw mass and stubborn momentum. I remember scoffing. Humans were new to the galactic stage. Short-lived, emotion-driven, statistically inefficient. Command had assigned them to my division as auxiliary infantry. Cannon fodder, my second-in-command, had whispered. I agreed. What I saw next changed everything. Their leader was a human called Captain Elias Rourke. He had tired eyes, a scar down his cheek, and a voice that carried even through battlefield chaos. When he saluted me, it was sloppy by Virex standards, but there was something else there, an intensity, like he was already grieving losses that hadn't happened yet. "Sir," he said, meeting my gaze without fear, "we'll hold your flank. You will die." I replied honestly. The probability exceeds acceptable thresholds. He smiled, not bravely, not foolishly, just sadly. "Yeah," he said, "we know. That should have been the end of them, but it was only the beginning." The machine struck at dawn, their forms unfolding from the sand like nightmares of steel. Our shields failed within minutes. Virex units fell back in perfect order, executing retreat protocols. The humans did not retreat. They charged, through fire, through dismemberment, through screams that echoed across the comms. They fought like beings who understood death intimately and refused to let it decide the outcome. When a breach opened in our line, it was a human who sealed it, with his own body, detonating explosives strapped to his chest. When a machine colossus rose over our command post, it was human pilots who rammed it at full speed, knowing there would be no escape. I watched Captain Rourke drag a wounded Virex soldier to safety, taking shrapnel through his own leg. I demanded to know why. "Because he's one of us now," Rourke said, gritting his teeth. That's the deal. That night, as we counted the dead, I reviewed the data. Human casualty rates were catastrophic. By all rational measures, their tactics were failures. And yet, the line had held. None of us were prepared for the truth. Over the following weeks, the humans were everywhere, patching defenses, volunteering for impossible missions, laughing in the face of annihilation. They told stories at night, crude and heartfelt, about a planet called Earth, about oceans and skies and children they might never see again. I began to study them, not as soldiers, as a phenomenon. Humans knew they were outmatched. They knew the war could not be won cleanly, so they redefined victory. Every hour survived was a triumph. Every life saved, a rebellion against inevitability. Then came the order that broke me. High Command transmitted a classified directive. Kepri 9 was to be sterilized. Orbital fire would cleanse the planet, machines, and allies alike. Losses were deemed acceptable, including the humans. I confronted Captain Rourke in the ruins of a shattered city. Ash fell like snow between us. They will kill you all, I said. Leave. Now. He looked at the sky, where our fleet glimmered like distant stars. Then back at his troops, bloodied, exhausted, unbroken. If we pull out, he said, your evacuation won't complete in time. Yes, I replied, but you might live. Rourke shook his head slowly. That's not how this works. That was the moment, the turning point, that shattered everything I believed. Humans were not fighting to win the war. They were fighting to buy time for someone else to survive. What I saw next changed everything. When the orbital countdown began, the humans launched a final assault, not against machines, but against their core processing spire, a structure our analysts deemed impregnable. It was a suicide mission. I ordered my forces to stand down, to retreat, to obey logic. Then Captain Rourke sent me one last transmission. Hey, he said, voice calm despite the chaos behind him. If anyone ever asks what humans are good for, tell them this. The feed cut out. Minutes later, the spire exploded in a cascade of light. The machine network collapsed. Their armies went dark. Our evacuation completed with seconds to spare. The humans were gone, declared extinct on Kepri 9. I received my Metal 2 cycles later. A symbol of valor, of victory. It felt like a lie. Now, in the Hall of Veterans, I finish my story. The room is silent. Warriors who have faced cosmic horror sit frozen, their pride stripped bare. You call humans inefficient. I say, you call them illogical, weak. I let my gaze sweep across them. They are the only species I have ever known who will knowingly walk into extinction so that strangers may live. A murmur ripples through the hall. Discomfort, denial. I raise my final proof, a recovered human audio log, salvaged from the wreckage. Captain Rourke's voice fills the chamber, rough and unpolished. If you're hearing this, he says, then it worked. That's enough. Silence follows. Heavy, unavoidable. The galaxy fears humans because they are unpredictable, because they break models and defy probability. But that is not the real reason. I tell them the final truth. The most dangerous thing about humans, I say softly, is that they decide who deserves to be saved, and then they pay the price without hesitation. I remove my medals and place them on the floor. They were not our weapons. I finish. They were our shield. As I turn to leave, I know history will change. Doctrine will be rewritten. Statues will fall. Because once you understand humans, truly understand them, you realize the most terrifying force in the universe is not rage or technology or war. It is a species that chooses sacrifice and calls it duty.